Árnason. Valberg skorar. Valberg Gunnarsson hefur skorað. Ragnar Bergers var skot og mark. Glæsilega. Óskar Rafn á móti Bjarna. Og Bjarni með góða sendingu fyrir og hann Andri Ingólfsson.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Best Pod Ever. Just me for now, because we have a very special guest coming up in later on this episode. So I will be talking very briefly of just a summary of what happened, and then we will bring in the guest in just a few minutes. Couldn't be here last week, so round 4 didn't happen canonically, so we jumped straight into round 4. Vestri continued their title challenge, 2-0 win against IPVF. Ia beat Kawa 3-0, getting back on track, maybe, I don't know. Well, is there anything called back on track in this league, or is it all just completely random? I mean, next result speaks a little bit to that. FO 3, Valur 0. I don't know what's happening. Afturhelding 3, Stjarnan 0. It keeps getting weirder. Breiðablik 3, Kawa 3, and then Víkingur 3, Fram 2. Those are a bit more normal, but still 3-3, another 3-3 from Kawa, another sort of scoring draw. So yeah, plenty of goals. Kawa, Valur, Stjarnan, what a weekend. Yeah, again, I don't know if you bounce back, if there is any sort of anything here to this, or is it all just random? Is there any? Yeah, it's very hard to read this league so far. It's all very tight. You can't really say someone's having a great season or a terrible season. It's all nobody's really settled into their rhythm yet. We will be talking about one team that's had a pretty good season, Vestri. We'll talk about them a bit later with our guest. But yeah, the rest, Valur is the one that everyone's talking about, deservedly so. They're getting a lot of criticism, deservedly so. The attention goes to Tuva, the manager, but it's just like, people have also talked about the players, and that's quite deserved. The listlessness, the lack of fight is alarming. I mean, you saw last night, at the time of recording, we had at the Inter-Barca game, we had a 37-year-old Acerbi storming up the pitch at the end of a game to score tie the game. I was trying to think of any Valur player would do that, and you can't imagine any one of them showing that level of fight. It's just a very expensive team that has gotten any results. Never mind, the manager. It's just the players on the pitch. It's annoying to be always negative about Valur, but Kawa as well. To be honest, I know they've done this before. They've started badly and then come back and done more stuff in the cup. And they can still do that. There's still a chance that they just bomb the league and win the cup. But it doesn't look good. And then the rest is kind of, FO haven't had a great season, but then they do this against Valur. Yeah, the rest is kind of hard to tell. But again, it's all very tight. 2 wins and a bounce from any of these teams, and they're all of a sudden in the European battle. So yeah, I don't know. There's been some transfers. Some teams have some last-minute transfers that happened a few days ago. Some of the more interesting ones, Benjamin Starke returning to Iceland to go to Afturhelding. I know many people sort of think of him as a bit of a failure at the time of Breiðablik, but he still did score goals. He has a pedigree of goals. He's a very experienced goal scorer, so could be a huge boost to Afturhelding in their fight for survival. Víkingur bought Ali Al-Mosawi. Apologies if that's terrible translation. From Hillerød in Denmark. A player with that had a lot of suitors sort of. When he was younger, he was on trials, I think, or with the biggest teams in the world, and hasn't really happened so far. Still very young, so exciting signing for a team that really needed something. And then FO and Vestri sort of made some business. Arnór Borg went on loan from FO to Vestri, and Dagur went from Breiðablik to FO on loan. both with options to buy. See how they do. And then, Fram's goalkeeping drama ended with a bit of a Leiknir swap, or Ola Risholm going to Leiknir and them getting another Leiknir goalkeeper. So the two Leiknir goalkeepers going to Fram this season. If we quickly go through stars of players of the round, I think I would like to give one of them to Hrannar Snær from Afturhalding. Really good game, and for him and his team. Just caused so much trouble down the wing, scored a good goal, and was a key to pressing Stjarnan high up. And another one to Christian Flóki of FH, scoring 1.5 goals. I'm not quite sure that other one is going in, like he says, and when it took the deflection. But really good, sort of what someone dubbed the Mandzukic role, playing on the wing next to Ulfur. So a really good performance. And another sort of striker, Eiður Gauti of KR. Maybe a bit of bias here, but I just want to shout him out for this game, and also he was player of the game against Breiðablik. He had a really good game against Ía in the last round, which we didn't talk about, but it's just a key to pulling and stretching Breiðablik in KR's comeback against them. Has started the season really well, and it looks already like one of the better strikers in this league. Bullying a defense that just a week ago had completely shut down Emil Atlason and Ante Rúnar. So very good performance by him. But that's enough of me talking. Let's go to our guest, which I will introduce now.
So as promised, here is the very special guest. We have Jamie Fletcher, the number one Vestri fan in the world.
Wouldn't quite go that far, but thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming. We want to talk. It's always nice to talk to fans and to players and whoever, and it's fun to talk. It's a great time to talk about Vestri. They're almost essentially the top of the league if we correct for size and for vibes. They're.
Let's just take Vikingur out of the equation.
Yeah, exactly. It's been a great start to the season. A lot of people. I didn't really know where to place them. It was kind of hard because they didn't change out their whole team. They did renew a lot of players towards the end. I know some of it was a bit sort of towards late in the transfer window that they re-signed some players, but it was a bit all up in the air. Which it makes sense, right? It's a smaller town club. It's kind of hard to convince people need to move up there and things. So people didn't really know what to expect. A lot of people were predicting them relegation, and now they're going to win the league. Do you want to? What do you think about their season so far?
Yeah, I think everyone from the outside would be surprised with how well it's gone so far. Even for us, it's a bit unexpected. Maybe those inside the club, it's less unexpected, but for those of us going every week, it's come as a bit of a shock. I've seen a little bit, not too much, on a few people saying that perhaps it's been a slightly easier start to the season than some other teams have had. But I'm not sure I agree with that. 4 out of our 5 games so far have been last season's top 6. And then we go away to Ísafjörður, which is never an easy place to go. Especially when we look at they beat Vikingur at home in the cup, and then a great result against Fram there as well. So I think it's been a difficult start, maybe not as difficult as it could have been, and maybe we've played a few teams at the right time, like facing Valor, first game of the season, probably before they clicked into gear, has helped us. But I don't think too much can be said for that, but it's been really enjoyable to watch. You see the predictions before the season starts, and a little bit disheartened to see everyone put us only above Ísafjörður. Maybe there's a bit of favoritism towards Afturhalding being a
for sure.
But you can't blame them. I'm sure we'll touch on the transfer window over the winter, but there was a lot of change, and it's always difficult with unknown players and untested players coming into the league. But those that we've brought in, they're playing for each other, and they've been given everything so far. I know it's cliche to say all that, but it's been really enjoyable to watch, and it makes following a lot easier than last year. But we were just grateful to stay up last year, so this has been great though.
I mean, yeah, maybe we can talk about their style of play, because there's been a lot of, I think it's quite condescending the way some people have talked about Vestri so far. Just, like especially against, I think against Breiðablik, that you lost, but still, like, a very good team. And the takeaway that most people had, the commentary that most people had from that game, for example, and for most of the games, has been like Vestri is just sitting back and just defending and being boring, and then getting lucky with some attacks, and it's.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of it, and I don't agree. I mean, I'm obviously biased, but did we sit back more in the Breiðablik game than I thought we would? Possibly a little bit, especially for being at home, but can't say I blame. I mean, we've got a back five, back seven, if you include the two defensive midfielders who they love defending. I mean, it's been seen. I don't know if it's made any of the highlight reels, but there's been moments, even in the first half, putting tackles in, clearances in, and they're celebrating it like it's a goal, which is, from my point of view, great to see. But yeah, I mean, there is a very clear style of play. The plan does differ quite obviously, I think, between teams. And I mean, you've got Breiðablik, whether you play them home or away, you're going to not see a lot of the ball when you're a club of our size. But I think there's definitely, when we get the ball and have possession, there's a lot of nice football. It's not just trying to catch teams on the break. And like you say, I think that does go under the radar slightly, but it's probably not a bad thing if we can avoid people finding out too much about what we're about and keep going under the radar a bit. Then it's going to be an interesting season. And yeah, I just think that we're probably being a little downplayed. But when you've got so many good, strong defenders, you're going to use that to your advantage, and we've got a bit of quality going forward to take advantage of hitting teams on the break. And but we are seeing more and more good build-up play and possession-based game, which is fantastic. But it's not just defending, as it's made out to be.
No, I agree. I think I've been very impressed with how they play it. I mean, it's not tiki-taka by any stretch, but you also have to build from what you can, right? Like Davis Moda has to, he has to create a bit of a spine from a team that, there's a lot of changes, and we can touch on the transfer window maybe. But yeah, it's you can't expect him to just build a cohesive, like that sort of team in the conditions that he's working with. So I think he's doing quite well.
Exactly. And yeah, going on to the transfer window and the changes to the squad, I mean, the one thing that stayed consistent, other than the change in goal with Guy coming in, is the three centre-backs. And most of the defensive unit has remained. So it doesn't really surprise me that the play style has been built on being strong defensively. You've got to play to your advantage, and we've had three strong defenders for at least two, going on 3 years. So it makes complete sense to me that we'd be playing that way.
How worried were you in like sort of end of February or something?
I had a feeling this was coming. Honestly, it sounds like it's being said with hindsight, but I was never overly worried. I think I mentioned to you guys in the reply to a couple of posts, but the club have earned the trust over the last 2-3 years. Transfer windows have been pretty good generally. And so I think when we saw the mass exodus, as it was being touted, it was, there were little bits of concern, but I wasn't overly worried. Since Darius Mari's come in, the transfer business, I can't really think of more than one or two that haven't hit strongly. And even they had their moments. So there's definitely the trust earned there, and it was very much a trust the process, but I think it's paid off, and we've had some exciting players come in. I don't think anyone expected. I mean, I certainly hadn't heard last year that we've had Davy Berg training with us, so to see him came a little bit out of the blue, but it's great that those players are taking a chance, and I guess following in the footsteps of Benno last season, and he'd been there a couple of years, but taking the chance to come out west and themselves and play regular football and just focus on the game. So hopefully we see a bit more of that. I mean, it's certainly seems to have worked for those that have taken that chance. But yeah, overall, pretty happy. We've seen some quality come in. It was obviously sad to see there were a few players that left and staff that left as well that had been in the club and around the town for a good few years. So it was sad to see those move on. But definitely excited to see this sort of new era, I suppose you could call it. And yeah, it's again, didn't expect it to go this well, but it seemed to have gelled. And you mentioned that maybe it was left a bit late, but everyone was in town before the training trip and warm weather, and it seems to have paid off. There seems to be a good group there, a lot of cohesion, and they seem to love playing with each other. So hopefully it wasn't left too late, and that's going to pay off over the course of the season.
No, it seems like you left it or did it quite sort of on time. I know the EBF manager has talked a little bit about that they had to leave it a bit late, and that's why they haven't maybe gelled as much as he wanted to. But yeah, it seems Davis Mauri has gotten Vestri marching to the same beat. Just like the final about transfers, what do you think about the last two signings on sort of deadline day? I don't know if you know much about Abdur Wakmane.
Yeah. No, genuinely know absolutely nothing about him. It kind of took us all by surprise. I mean, there'd been a bit of talk about Partner Borg coming in. So that's another one that sort of strikes me as Davis Mauri seems to have a type of player that he goes for. I mean, this is just an assumption from me, but it seems to be players that maybe have struggled for minutes or lacked a bit of confidence recently, maybe fallen out of love with the game a little bit. Who knows what's going on, but he seems to enjoy bringing them in, and whether it's a challenge for him or he just loves giving players a second chance. I don't know if you could stretch it that far, but so that didn't necessarily surprise me. Excited to see what he can bring. And again, yeah, I'm not going to try and pronounce his name. I have a friend of mine who's a Vestri fan as well, who's from France, and he was telling me how to pronounce it, but I can't manage it. So, but excited to genuinely know nothing about him. When the name came up, a few of us tried to do our best detective work skills and track him down on FootMob and things like that, but no luck. So, I mean, pretty much as a complete unknown to us. But, yeah, that could be exciting.
It's I would love to know this sort of scouting and the work that goes into it, because I know that for some clubs in the past, I'm sure it's changing with with technology and people getting more access to things, but I know that it has been in the past that Icelandic clubs have just gotten videos sent by agents being like, sign this guy please, and then the players have been signed on that. I don't, that's not what I'm saying. I don't think Vestri are working like that, but I would be very interested, because they're signing like over the last 2 years players from abroad, and they've done really, really well. I would love to know more about how.
Yeah, I'm intrigued. I mean, there's been a good few come out of Denmark, especially, that we brought over. We seem to have quite a good Danish core at all times at the moment, but seemingly picking up a few from Sweden and Norway as well. So the Nordic scouting range is certainly working, but I have no idea what they're using and how they're finding these players. But so far, it's paid off.
No, I mean, you touched on it a little bit, but like how, what does your head say? What does your heart say for the rest of the season? Are they going to win the title? Are they going to go to Europe? Are they?
I mean, the heart obviously says, let's push for Europe and try and beat the Blix in the cup game and keep our options open on all fronts. But I mean, trying to take nothing for granted and thinking about it and using the head. I mean, we went into this season, I'd have been happy to take like a battle for 7th. Yeah, sure, bottom half still, but battling at the right end of the bottom half.
In the President's Cup, as they make it.
A trophy's a trophy. Yeah, but I mean, without taking anything for granted, I think the next 2 league games probably define where we can look at this season. After Elding at home, they've picked up a little bit. I was starting to get a bit worried about them from a outside point of view, but they seem to have found their scoring and attacking play and tightened up at the back a little bit. So that's going to be a bit of a challenge. Our recent form, other than the playoff final against them, hasn't been great. So hopefully we can turn that around a little bit. And then I think Fram away, it's the sort of game that, I'm not saying that we're pushing for the title, but if we were to be looking at the right end of the table, is a sort of game that you'd be looking to pick something up out of. So I think maybe see how the next two go, and then we can revisit that a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I'd still probably take being in the battle for the President's Cup now.
I mean, yeah, I mean, the Bum win, they sort of take turns winning and losing. So if we take that form, you're going to win, because they're going to win. They're going to win this week, and then they're going to lose against you. So that's 3 points in the bag.
Oh, maybe I need to change my prediction for them then.
Well, talking about predictions, you're gonna be the first guy to go up against AI, to be non-AI, the first human being to predict.
Feels like a lot of pressure.
No pressure at all. Just
well,
see how it all depends on you.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at the games, and I wish maybe we'd been able to do this last week, because the games seemed easier to predict than I do this week. I think you throw me in at the deep end a little bit. It looks a little bit challenging. They seem fairly hard to predict. But I'll give it a go. See how we get on.
So let's end with Vestri. So if we start with the easy one, Kawari Bivaf, what sort of draw is that going to be?
I'm actually gonna put my neck on the line, and I'm gonna back Kawari to win. But I am gonna put it as 3-2.
3-2. Okay, that's going to be a lot of goals,
Yeah.
as usual.
I mean, I had the pleasure, I guess, of watching the second half of the Breivik Kawari game, and I don't believe, unless they change the philosophy a little bit, they're going to concede goals.
Mm.
I mean, 2 minutes left and you're 3-2 up, and you've still only got 3 players back defending. Maybe it's just my defensive mindset from being a Vestri fan, but I'd be screaming. But I think they'll have enough. I mean, they've got some really nice attacking play. I mean, the second goal, the equaliser against Breivik, was really nice. So I think EBVAF seemed to struggle a bit going forward at the weekend against us. Maybe we just defended the death out of them. But yeah, 3-2. I think they've got, EBVAF have a decent amount of attacking flair and enough going forward to make a game of it. But I think I just have enough for them in the end.
I think that's fair enough. I think, yeah, I've been quite impressed with EBVAF. I think it's quite impressive how much Vestri shut them down. Because I thought even in the first few games when things weren't really maybe working out for them, you could see the sparks there. So yeah, I'm really interesting to see how they keep going. But yeah, 3-2 sounds fair. Now for the fallen, the sort of the old giants who aren't quite setting the world alight, although Victor Jonsson is scoring now. So Valur IA.
Yeah, this one of the more difficult ones of the round, I think. I was originally leaning towards IA, but I'm going to lean away from that and go for 2-1 Valur. I was looking at a draw as well, but I think IA historically have seemed to struggle, particularly away against Valur, and with the goals being sort of hard to come by until this weekend just gone. I think, yeah, 2-1 Valur, and hopefully that is enough to keep 2 for his job for the time being, so that Valur don't come sniffing around Darasmari anytime soon.
Yeah, Valur. I don't know what's happening with Valur. As a Coward fan, I'm trying not to be too biased and just criticize Valur every weekend. But so I'm trying to check my biases there. But it's hard to be positive. Find the positives there at the moment. They don't look great, but yeah, let's see if they can turn it around this weekend. And then another disappointing team, bottom of the league, I think, Kawa. Can they surprise us and home is a home advantage against Breivik?
Well, probably. This was the only game of the round that I was pretty set on the result and the score pretty quickly. So I'm sure they'll prove me wrong, but I'm going 3-1 Breidablik.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I don't. How I don't know if they're just gonna go, if they're just resting for the cup. This is their strategy. They just as long as they don't get relegated and they can win the cup, I think that maybe, and then have a run in Europe. I don't know what they're trying to do, but they haven't woken up yet.
Yeah, I don't know. I hate to write them off, especially in Akademi, but I mean they've started similar to last year, I suppose, and then we all saw how that kick-started their season. But yeah, I can't look past Breidablik at the moment.
No, they look pretty good. It's yeah, and then just like they'd be able to bring on, you saw against the game against Kauer, they were bringing on 3 players who, former professional football footballers. Just they can bring those guys on from the bench. Yeah, it's really hard to see past them at the moment. Then yeah, like we said, Fram is going to win this one because this is their week. They win one, lose one. So how much are Fram going to win against Stjarnan?
I actually have it down as a draw.
Okay.
I'm going 2-2, and I'm going to back. I know we don't have to do goal scorer predictions, but I'm going to back Andrew and Oren Benno to both get a goal in this one. Go support the old Vestri boys. But yeah, I mean, just from watching the goals, Stjarnan don't seem great at the back at the moment. And Fram seem like they have a bit going forward. The first goal in particular against Vikingur was really lovely to watch.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go 2-2, purely based on I think Fram maybe struggle a bit in Garðabær. Otherwise, I was looking at a win there, but again, maybe Jurkut is close to being forced out a little bit, and I don't want them to come sniffing around Davis Mario. We'll go 2-2 and hope he keeps his job.
Yeah, I don't know what to make about Boik with Stjarnan this season. It's I thought because they started okay and then just fallen off a cliff. Yeah, let's see.
Yeah, it seems like, I mean, I haven't watched too many of the games, but it seems like looking at the lineups and stuff, they maybe don't know their best team yet. Seems to be a lot of changes. Whether that's not doing them any favors, sure.
No, exactly. Víkingur FH.
I've gone with a Vikingur win. I was unsure whether to go 2-1 or 3-1, but I'm going to lean towards 3-1. And yeah, I mean, it's been a bit of a sorry start for FH. I mean, great win against Valor. I don't think anyone expected that. Maybe the Valor fans, they weren't too optimistic, but yeah, 3-1 I'll go with, and Gilby probably score again. Now he's off the mark.
Yeah, exactly. I'm very interested to see if like FH, Stjarnan, Fram, yeah, like these sort of teams. Like I don't know if there's any sort of form they're trying to recapture, or if it's just completely random the results right now. It's
a really fun league because anyone seems to be able to beat anyone, which has made it ridiculously hard to do these predictions, but it's very enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, I mean, we're 6 points from 12th to 1st. I don't envy you for this one this week.
Could be anyone's game.
Let's wrap up with Vestri Afturölding, the battle of the sort of fairly newbies.
Yeah, I mean, I have to go a little bit with the heart of this one, but I'm going to go 1-0 Vestri. I debated on 2-0, but I think Afturölding have sort of shored up a little bit at the moment. I'm going to put my neck on the line and say I can't see us conceding with how well the defensive side of things has been going recently. But there's certainly the danger men coming out of Mottolbæjar that do worry me slightly. But I think, and I hope, it's a hope more than a think, but I hope we'll just have enough for them.
Yeah, you have to sometimes just go with the heart. It's I'm a Southampton fans for my sins, and yeah, like I've been sort of like a also prediction kind of thing just at work, and many times I was pretty sure they were going to lose, but I couldn't get myself to predict a loss against them. So I would always go for a draw or a win, just in case.
Yeah, I couldn't in good faith give a prediction of us losing the game. So even if we'd have been playing Vikingur or Breiðablik this week, I'd have had to give it at least a draw.
Yeah, maybe I should have touched on this earlier a little bit, but you talk about the Vestri Heart. Why the Vestri Heart? It's we're talking to a you don't have the Ísafjörður accent, I can say.
Yeah, I moved to Ísafjörður to study for my masters in 2020, and sort of didn't pick it up until late 2021 going to the games. I suppose everything had been screwed up with COVID anyway. So it was hard to nail down when a game was actually going to be on and when the fixtures were, or when they weren't, because everything was cancelled. But I started going properly 2021, 2022. Season ticket straight away, went to every home game, picked up the away games when I was down in Reykjavik, and then moved away, unfortunately. But find myself closer to Reykjavik now, so every away game, apart from Akureyri, has become fairly easy. Well, and EBVAF now. It's become fairly easy, so it's good. And there's quite a few, I suppose you'd call them exiled Westfjordians down in the capital. So there's a good group of us. There was a bit of talk, I guess, before the season started on another podcast radio show that we won't name that sort of was questioning who Vestri was for, who the fans were, and I'm not sure maybe whether they haven't been to any of our games, but there's a decent group. Follow home and away. There's a decent group that are constantly in the capital for the away games, and they're doing all they can up in Ísafjörður to try and grow the home support. There's a good couple of guys who have got the drums out and flying the flag, so to speak. So it's getting there, but I just think the who's this team for comment was out of the blue and uncalled for.
Yeah, no, like I said, I think there's been a lot of negativity around this team. I think you touched on a little bit the sort of favoritism towards Afturhelding. I know that there's maybe people from there. I know it's the manager is also, he has some friends in the media because he used to work at Fótbolti.net. I'm not sure if that has something to do with it, but I've seen a lot. Afturhelding have been getting a lot more positive news coverage than Vestri, and there's a few points between those two teams.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm just forgetting how much coverage we had last year being the new boys, but I don't think so. And yeah, maybe there is a little bit of bias of having worked in the media, but there's certainly some exciting things, and they've got a good set of fans in also as well. I'll give them.
Yeah, of course.
With the rivalry with the playoff final, I find it hard to give them too much praise, but no, there's a good fan base there, and it's always nice to see a new club into a league. So I was very happy for them.
Yeah, of course. It's and they're almost not Reykjavik, so that's it's always good to get some spread as well.
Yeah, I think there was a thing I saw a few years ago that Football Manager put out that they were the largest town in Iceland without ever having had a top flight team. So take that one off. Yeah,
I'm not going to get into that whole discussion of what's Reykjavik and what's not. With Garðabær pretending they're a separate part, they're a separate city or something. That's going to be a whole other podcast that we can start.
The new geography subsection.
But we'll see how these predictions go. See if you're invited again. If you completely shame the Vestri fan group with these.
I wouldn't put it past me. I am gonna, like I preface this, I feel like it's a very hard week to do it, so don't judge me too hard.
No, I think it all makes a lot of sense, and but this league is complete nonsense so far. So it's very much throwing you into the deep end. But I really appreciate you coming on. It's fun to talk about Vestri. Hopefully we can do it again. When you're competing in the top half, playing league title matches against Vikingur or something towards later in the summer.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I mean, hopefully I can come back on drunk on champagne when we won the league.
Sounds like a plan. But Jamie Fletcher, thank you so much for coming on, and it was a pleasure.
Thank you.